The Six Nations has got underway for this year. Wales playing Ireland in the opening match at the Principality. Only one winner after the first 10 minutes, and it was going to be Ireland. Wales were dreadful for lengthy spells in this game. They had a brief purple patch in the second half, but it's too little too late. They weren't accurate enough. Their set play was dreadful. Their skill set woeful. And some of the squad selections under Warren Gatland, yes, I know he's only been recently reinstalled in the position following the departure of Wayne Pivac. But to basically keep Wayne Pivac's team, which underperformed for the best part of the last 3 years, is a bit of a head scratcher. Because some of these players, why are they still being selected? Sums up some of the depth issues I think Wales have, and maybe a bit of favouritism from a coach by going on past reputation. That's not how you coach. George North is not an outside centre. Alan Wynne-Jones, please retire. You've been a great second row, not only for Wales and the Lions, but just in rugby in general. But I don't get some of those selections. I understand, Dan Biggar, you want to have, you're in a transition period, get a few experienced players and a few young players coming through, and you're transitioning. Dan Biggar's positioning, I understand you want to keep your depth and your width, but when you're basically in the drop goal pocket the entire time, when you're in your own 22, no, just no. And they lost the contact area, they lost the territory, their basic skills let them down, the penalty count's atrocious. But let's take nothing away from Ireland, their accuracy, the speed of ball, the combinations, the young players coming in, the senior players there. They won the contact area, they won the ruck, they won the maul, the scrum, the line out, the set plays, the backline moves, everything worked. There was that brief spell in the second half where Wales were allowed to get a bit of dominance and increase their intensity, but for the most part, Wales were dreadful. And I think that played into Ireland playing a little bit poor in the second half, was how bad Wales were playing. It ended up impacting how the Irish were playing because they lost their way a little bit. But let's break things down. Caelan Doris scores his try after just 2 minutes of play. That shouldn't be happening at international level. And it's great teamwork. The whole thing, from receiving the kickoff from the opening whistle to getting down the other end through a James Lowe kick to turning the opposition around, winning that little battle, forcing a line out, and then going from the line out, to the try. The same for James Ryan. It's basic carbon copy. It's set play, dominance in the contact area, backs and forwards working really well in unison with runs, offloads, dummy runs, communication, intensity, clear out, dominating the tackler rather than the other way around, making yards, punching holes. So James Ryan, it's almost a carbon copy try for the Doris's try. It's just the momentum, the constant speed of ruck, clear out, passing, dummy runs, normal, running onto the ball at pace. Everything's done quickly and intensity, but accurately. And they're 14-0 up with 2 Sexton conversions after just 10 minutes. You can't win a game in the first 10 minutes, but you can go a very long way to losing a game in the first 10 minutes, and it's to do with mentality. Wales were shocking. Now, Dan Biggar gets Wales' only points after 14 minutes in the first half with a penalty. They barely have their hands on the ball. The possession stats give it away, like 64-65% possession. Territory is ridiculous. Penalty count is ridiculous. I think at one point it was 7 penalties against Wales to 1 against Ireland. The penalty count was basically a cricket score, like bowling figures for a bowler having a really good over, 7 runs for a wicket, that kind of thing. Using another sporting analogy, it was bad, really bad. And then Sexton responds with a penalty on 18 minutes. James Lowe's try, that comes off the back of good defence. When Wales finally get the ball, it's a telegraph pass, and yes, they created an overlap. That's fantastic. You've got 4 players in a channel that's designed for 2. If you had a one-man overlap, that's fine, because then the fullback has to make a decision. You've got 4 players in a very congested, tight area. You've negated the overlap, plus you've then telegraphed the pass. And James Lowe has had a very, very good game. He basically is the reason why the first try is scored, with his vision with the kick, turning the Welsh defence around. This time, great intercept, and it's telegraphed, and it's painful, and it's too slow, and he's gone. You're not catching him. And when you've got second row forwards who are stuck in an overlap channel, who are then trying to be the covering defenders, when you've got a pacey, powerful winger going, you're not going to catch him. And so that's where the game, for my opinion, is won. They've won the game without being tested. And then Johnny Sexton finishes off the scoring for the first half after just 28 minutes. So the scoring slows down. It does, and the intensity drops off a little bit, but Wales weren't intense. So Ireland didn't have to be at their best to win this game. They had purple patches first 10 minutes. Intercept tries, that's defence. So they're not getting their hands on the ball all the time. They're not dominating the possession all the time. But when they're on the defensive, very watertight. And at half time, it's 27 points to 3. And the Wales are the home team. And they've been battered at home. Crowd's been taken out of it. The atmosphere's flat. The team's flat. Half time comes. And start the second half. Wales were on top. Liam Williams gets his try in 45 minutes. Basically a carbon copy of 2 of the Irish tries from the first half. You win the set play. You set a platform. Quick ball, quick ruck, quick, and doing things at pace accurately. It finally pays off. Now there is a kerfuffle. Yes, there is a bit of foul play in there. Yes, I think that woke the Welsh up. That issue after the try with the late hit, and that's fine. They should have been awake from the first whistle. It should not take 45 minutes for Wales to start playing, because now they're playing catch up. And yes, bigger converts. They're into double figures in points. That's it. They had a lot more possession in the second half. Their accuracy was appalling. Yes, they raised their intensity level, but it's desperation intensity rather than just constant good fundamentals. They didn't have enough good fundamentals, because they'll get into a good position after 3, 4, 5 phases, and then force the pass, force the kick, try and force the offload, try and force the play, and then they knock it on, or they get done for holding on the ground, or the pass doesn't go to hand, and they blow opportunities. Yes, Ireland had dropped their intensity off. I think they're allowed to a little bit. I think they're in a dominant position. I don't think Andy Farrell would be happy with that drop off in intensity at the beginning of the second half. But then the Liam Williams yellow card changes everything. By the letter of law, yes. I don't think there's an intent to hit Sexton. I think Sexton's body position doesn't help. I know we're trying to eradicate headshots from the game, which is fine. We've seen the disaster of the aftermath of the RFUs lowering the tackle height at the community game and in the lower semi-pro levels of the game, and the way that's been handled. And I think the Welsh Union are going to try and adopt a lower tackle height as a basis. And yes, we want to see better tackle technique. We do. We do want to see less concussions, head injuries, and other tackle-related injuries. Of course we do. But a year ago, another referee may not have given that as a yellow card. 5 years ago, that wasn't even really considered a dangerous tackle. So yes, the game has evolved, and by the letter of the law, it is. And there'll be a lot of people who watch this video go, soft. It's the letter of the law. And finally, we're seeing an officiating team, because too often we don't see the officiating team actually go by the rules, by the letter of the law. Actually going, okay, a bit of common sense. At the same time, they're actually applying the laws of the game correctly. So Liam Williams, unfortunately, he was Wales' best player today. He has to sit down for 10 minutes. And then Josh van der Fleer, Player of the Year, World Rugby Player of the Year, scores his try in 72 minutes. And again, it's Ireland have regained their intensity. They've regained the territory. And their accuracy's gone up again. Yes, Wales are down to 14 men. But even with 15 men on the field, Wales weren't good enough today. And it's finished 34 points to 10. In reality, if Ireland had kept their intensity up going into the second half, the scoreline could have been a lot bigger. Wales have got serious problems. Wales have got serious problems. The age of the squad and the age of the starting lineup today has been mentioned. I would say George North is not an outside centre. He's too one-dimensional. And defensively, the first 2 tries, he's in the wrong position. And in one of the tries, he doesn't even attempt a proper tackle. He's a big bloke. Put your shoulder in. Wrap your arms. No, he just flails. I'm sorry. George North is not an international level outside centre. I wouldn't even pick him at club level at outside centre. Yes, he's a very destructive ball runner off the wing. And, when you're returning play, don't go for the mark. Give it. That's where he's very destructive. As an outside centre, there's a lot more defence involved in the game, and defence, he's shocking. Personal opinion, watching as many internationals as I have over the years, George North is better as a destructive ball running winger, be it if you pass the ball or if it's a kick return. I think that's where he's best, punching holes that way, because he has to defend less on the wing. As an outside centre, you have to defend more and distribute the ball more. He can't do that. Position, he's terrible. Alan Wynne-Jones, just retire, please. Please. Because in the first half, he was puffing. Like, he was done. He was late to rucks, late to mauls, late to the tackle area, and that's allowing the opposition to gain further territory, possession, gain line, intensity. The fact he lasted 60 minutes is surprising. Last year, people were saying, why is Alan Wynne-Jones still being selected? And that was by Wayne Pivac. I don't know what Warren Gatland's doing there. Relying on past glories and past performances. Alan Wynne-Jones is done at international level. I think he's played a little bit too long. Personal opinion. Great player that he's been. He's a record breaker for a reason. He's one of the best second rows North or Southern Hemisphere has ever produced. Ever. One of the best players. And if there was like a rugby Hall of Fame kind of thing, he's in there. But why is he still being selected? We've had a change of coaching regime, and they haven't really they haven't really been brave with their squad selection, and it shows. So there we go. Ireland could have won by more. Wales not good enough, and that's a recurring theme. And I know they won a Six Nations title under Wayne Pivac, and they put the asterisk in there because it was under COVID. But in reality, they needed a complete overhaul after the last World Cup. So the last 3.5 years has been warning signs have been there with the Welsh setup, and the warning signs are still there. And yes, they've got some, Dyer on the wing. He had flashes today. He needs to get the ball more and in better position. But there's also some glaring deficiencies as well, and the deficiencies outweigh the green sheets coming through with some of the young players. So there we go. Thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll have some more videos for you very, very soon.